In this video, we will learn the very basics of Adobe Illustrator. So if you're a beginner just getting started, this video is for you. Create a new file. There are two different types of files. The web files, files that are intended to be displayed on the monitor. So the unit value for these are pixels. I recommend a width of 1920 and a height of 1080p. That is the resolution for PowerPoints or most images. The other file is print in dimensions of either inches or centimeters, or at least those are the units that I recommend. These are things that you'll be printing out on pieces of paper or poster boards. Printing out on a piece of paper, this should be 8.5 inches by 11 inches. Switch over to web, the width 1920 and the height 1080p. You should have two columns of tools over here on the left. If you don't, go up to Window and go click on Toolbars and click on Advanced. You should see a Control toolbar up top. If you don't, go Window and click Control. Make sure that box is checked. Also, I recommend these tool groups on the right. You get those by clicking Window and then clicking on these and dragging it over to the right. Take a look at these and make sure you have these. Okay, so let's get started. Draw a rectangle. Click on the rectangle. If you don't see the rectangle, click and hold, and you should see several options. Click on the rectangle tool. Click with your left mouse button, drag your mouse. If you want a square, hold the shift key, release. You can change the appearance if you want green. If you want to do even more specific colors, hold the shift key and click with your left mouse button, and that gives you options here. This is HSB. If you want to do RGB, click on those little 3 dots and 3 lines and you can select RGB. If you want to change the color of the stroke outline, click over here. That's black right now. That seems fine. Increase the thickness of the stroke. Hold the Alt key and spin your mouse wheel. That will zoom in. First, I want you to click the selection tool and make sure this object is selected, which you can see it is by those little white boxes around it. Click on the stroke. You can see options for the align stroke. If you click on this over here on the left, that'll center align the stroke. You can make it align towards the inside. The black line is on the inside of the rectangle, and this is on the outside of the rectangle. I recommend keeping it on the middle, but there are reasons for the other settings as well. If you click this round corner, it'll round the corner. You can add the chamfer corner. That'll add a little chamfer to it. Let's go back to the sharp. You can add a dash line, and the other settings we'll talk about later. Okay, hold the Alt key and zoom out. Hold the space bar to use the pan mode. Draw a circle. So I'm going to click and hold on this tool set, and then I'm going to click on the ellipse tool. If I click with my left mouse button and drag my mouse while holding the left mouse button, you can see I can draw an ellipse of all shapes and sizes. And similar to the rectangle, if I hold the shift key, it'll lock it to a circle. And then I release. Okay, anytime I create an object, I always go up here and click on the selection tool and just kind of click away so it deselects those objects. The next thing we will do is draw lines. Now I moved up and down using my mouse wheel. The first line is the line segment. If you don't see it, click and hold. Click on the screen with your left mouse button and hold, and you can change the magnitude and direction. If you hold the shift key, it'll keep it to orthogonal and 45-degree angles. If I want an arrow to go from this circle to this square, I would put my mouse here next to that anchor, click and hold the shift key so it stays vertical, and then release. I'm going to go up to stroke, then go down to arrowheads, and then click on the arrowhead. Now if that arrow is a little too large, you can change the size and type in 60. That's usually a good size. So I'm going to click the selection tool and click away. The next thing we will do is draw an irregular shape line. Click the pencil tool, which see this emblem here, click and hold and go down to the pencil tool. Then I'm going to press enter key and I want to move this all the way over to the semi-smooth, almost all the way to the smooth but not quite. Click OK. and then I'm going to click and hold with my left mouse button to draw a squiggly line. If I press enter, I can get back to this tool setting menu, and that's true for many of these options over here on the left. If you click on the tool and then press the enter key, you get many more options that you can fine-tune that tool with. So I'm going to move this over to the left to make it really accurate, and this will draw a more accurate line that stays more true to the pencil strokes that I'm using, but it's going to be a more jagged line. Okay, not quite as smooth as the first line that I drew. If I want to smoothen out that line, I can go back to this pencil tool group and go down to smooth tool, and I click and hold, and that'll smoothen out that line again. Another way of drawing an irregular shaped line is using the pen tool, and I absolutely love the pen tool more than I like the pencil tool. So with the pen tool active, you can just click on the screen and it will create the line that you want. If you click and hold, it'll create curves. Now this gives the pen tool much more control than the pencil tool. And so I highly recommend getting used to drawing with the pen tool, because more often than not, it'll be a better option for you. Now if you want to exit the pen tool, click the escape button. Now if you want to modify the individual points of these lines, click the direct selection tool and then select the object. So for instance, there's an anchor point right here. You just click on it and you hold your mouse, your left mouse button, and you can move it around, or if you click and hold on the handle, you can change the angle of those handles. Now if you hold the Alt key and click on one of those handles, you can make each handle for an anchor point independent of the other. Go up here, you click on that anchor, and you click this curve tool up here, and then that regains that straight handle. The next object that will be important for you to create is the text object. There's two different types of text objects. There is the point text object, created just by clicking on the screen. You can increase the text size by clicking on this down arrow here, and if you double click on the text object, this allows text to be typed. To center align this text with the other objects, you can select these objects down here, click down. Notice that it goes small increments if you use the arrow. If you hold the shift key and click down, use larger increments. So if I want to center align this text with all of these other objects, first thing I want to do is center align the paragraph style, and that is shown up here. So click on that, and then select all of these objects that you want to align, and click the center align up here. Or you can click over on the line tool down here and click that center align. Now it is important for you to center align this paragraph rather than left align. So let's redo this alignment now that this text is left aligned so you can see the problem that this creates. So I selected all these objects and I click center align. Now this looks great and fine, except for when I start adding text. Okay, so one thing to notice is that this is misaligned now. Now if this was center aligned, and then if I realign everything, I can add as much text as I want and it stays aligned. Okay, so keep the alignment of the text in the way you want the text to ultimately be aligned, which makes sense. The next type of text is area type tool. I click on the same text icon, except for this time I'm going to click and hold and draw a box. The difference with this text, if I click on this original text box that I drew and I hold the shift key and I change the scaling, which is using that double arrow, notice how it changes the size of the text itself. However, on a text area tool, if I scale it, it will not scale the text. It will not change the size of the font, but it will change the wrapping of the font. The text that's shown up here is great for titles, but the text down here below is good for paragraphs. So let's change the size of the text just a little bit. And then I'm going to delete that text box and create another one so that it fills with random text like this. Click on the paragraph tool. You can make it justified. You can change the first indent so that it has a paragraph indent. If you want to add that, make this 0 to return. You can add bullets and numbers. Click on the area type tool, and you can add columns. You can also add inset spacing. So this inset spacing is margins to add with the text. If you see a plus sign, that means you have extra text outside and you want to expand it so you don't see that anymore. The last thing I'm going to talk about is the gradient tool. So I'm going to click on this object here, click on gradient, or you can click over here on the left, and then you click a linear gradient. Double click on one of these colors, change it to green. And if you want to add another color to the gradient, just click below, select again, maybe change it to a red. Now if you want to make this circle look like a sphere, then make this a radial gradient. Remove this here. I just clicked on it and dragged it away. Or you can click the trash bin button. Edit the gradient. You can move this up here to the top to make this look as if it was a sphere. Click File and save the document. You can save this as a PDF if you're trying to send it to other people if they don't have Illustrator. If you want to create this for a PowerPoint slide, you can click on File, Export, Export As, and as a PNG. PNG is pretty much the best format that you can use. I like it. It doesn't have any artifact, but you can use other formats as well. If you click on PNG, if the Use Artboards is not checked, it'll create an image that goes to the outside bounds of everything that you drew, irregardless of the artboard. If you click on the artboard, then it will save the entire image, even if you didn't draw anything. If you click on Export, I recommend saving it as screen resolution. If you are sending this out for publication, you might have to change it to a 300 ppi. And that's pretty much it on the main basic features of Adobe Illustrator.